Well, hello and welcome. My name is Andrea, and today I'm going to be talking to you about what befriending grief actually is. There are two words that we don't typically associate with one another, befriending and grief. And so I thought it was worth an explanation as far as why I came up with this in the first place. So the reason that I came up with Befriending Grief as the name for my programs and book and all of the things that I've been working on is because I realize that there is a huge need in our society for acknowledging that grief is here for us, that grief is a process, that it is nature's response to a big loss in our lives. And I'm really excited to actually provide a little bit of a different viewpoint on grief, loss, and all the things that are related to being a mortal human being here on Earth. And so I realized, especially after my parents died in the fall of 2022, that I was seeking, as most of us do, we are seeking any kind of comfort, right? And so I went online, and a lot of the things that I found out there was messages around demonizing the grieving process. So they were phrases like, grief sucks, and I'm going to feel this way forever, and you never get over grief, and, the kick it to the curb kind of mentality. And that just honestly wasn't helpful to me. I was looking for something that would provide me with some comfort and meaning to this loss that had happened and some validation for some of the things that I was going through. And there just wasn't a lot out there. And so I went about the work of creating it and really digging into this process that I believe is here for us, for our benefit. And so there's three main pillars of befriending grief that I've created and I've kind of put together. One of them, all of them are centered around reconnecting some pretty big disconnects in our culture. So the first big disconnect is the disconnect that we have from nature itself. Because of all sorts of reasons, we've come inside a lot, we have really disconnected from nature. So we don't see a lot of examples of the kind of the mortal nature of nature, that there is death and dying happening all over the place out there. And so we can get this really major misconception that everything kind of stays the same. And it sure doesn't, right? There are cycles and rhythms in nature that include birth, life, death, rebirth. And because we are nature as well, we too go through these same rhythms and cycles in our own lives. The second pillar of reconnection is to address the disconnect from our true nature as mortal human beings. The truth is that we will die, and everybody in our lives will die. This life is very, very temporary. And we can have this illusion once again that everything's going to stay the same, that we're going to live forever. And we live in a society that is focused very much on longevity, very much on hacking, our bodies and our lives to maximize the potential for everything. And that's great. I want to live a long time. I want to live very healthy. But I also want us all to remember that our lives are not, we're not going to be here forever. And so what that does is recenters us on what's important. It reconnects us with the rhythms and cycles that are a part of our everyday life. And the third pillar of befriending grief is around the disconnect from one another. So I've mentioned this as well, but we have become very disconnected from one another, especially when it comes to grief and loss. We're in our jobs, we've got our 3 bereavement days, and then we're back to work. We've expected to be productive. We have a huge gap in just the education and language and literacy around grief And there's been this big gap in our culture where we don't even want to talk about it. It's just too painful. We live in this good vibes only culture, as they say, and there's no room for the shadowy parts of life. And the truth is, we need both, right? We need to acknowledge grief so that we can acknowledge and experience joy. And so reconnecting with our with nature, with our true nature, and with one another is very important through the process of kind of making ourselves whole again after a big loss. And all of this can be done really sweetly through ritual, through ceremony, and through building our kind of repertoire of grief practices that help us, you know? And so I'm building a community of support where people can come together, nurture one another, witness one another's pain, and tell our own stories of our own losses as a way to heal our broken hearts. And through witnessing other people's pain, we also heal our own selves because we are humans. That's what we're meant to do. So that's just a little snippet of what befriending grief is all about. And I'm so glad that you joined me today. And as always, should you have any questions whatsoever, or just want to simply chat, please don't hesitate to reach out. My email address is andrea@befriendinggrief.net, and I'm on all the socials. So please reach out. And in the meantime, take really good care of yourself and have a good day. Thanks.